Um, I think taking licks and put it into three different keys and try and find practical places for them, put them in, for have good reasons for those three different keys, and that in itself, this is it, and this comes back to what I was saying is it's sort of it's all about the journey, man, but it sort of is like we have to get used to the journey because doing that I just told you to do does not mean that the next, in 1 month's time, you are going to have that line in your head. Or it does not mean that you're going to definitely have that enclosure in your head. But what it does mean is that you've sort of gone through the process of doing it. And at some point, you might have that line. It's the constant doing of these things. If you do this regularly, just little bits and bobs like that, you don't want to make them too hard. You want to be able to just do them regularly and forget about them. You do them until you feel really like you really know them, and then forget about it, and then do it with another one. That process is the thing that you're actually looking for. It's not always the actual information, or it's not always the actual line itself. And really, that's how we open ourselves up and be. And in my opinion, it's how we become more musical in the way we play. I think violinists, we don't. This stuff doesn't come easy to us. We don't have the chords. We don't play the chords. We can't see the chords. We can't see anything. We guitarists can see everything. Uh, we can see nothing. We can just see the eternal blackness of the fingerboard, and we and we also never play the chords. So we need to do this work a little bit, and I think that violinists often don't, but you can tell violinists who do this work, and they are the ones that can come up with things on the spot. That their ears are working. You want to get your ears working, and doing this work, making it feels a bit mechanical sometimes, but it does get your ears working, and just the last point on it. You take something through three different keys and do it in three different ways. That's when you know it. You don't know something if you've just done it in one key. You sort of know it in that key, and you know it as a sort of building block. And I'm saying that the way that we work on it is a bit in a blocky way. You take a thing and slam it onto something, and then that feels quite blocky. But if you then do it in another key, you work it out in another key, and then you slam it into that key, and then you cool, right? I'm going to do it in another key and slam it in that other key. Then that's when we start to go, I sort of get this concept now. I really do. I don't think you have to do everything in all keys, because I think saying that you're going to do everything in all keys is going to hinder you, and it's going to make you have not so fun a time. But I think that you should do things in at least a couple of keys. This is one great thing that I think is a wicked practice tool, is writing your own stuff, right? So do it saying, look, I understand the theory behind this enclosure. I understand that I'm going to aim for a chord tone with this enclosure. So use that. What's great is it's a great starting point for writing a little line. Oh god, that's literally the line that I'm working on. I've practiced today that I got from a Charlie Parker solo. But let's say it's whatever. It's such a classic one. We play that sort of thing all the time. It's like, okay, you've sort of written that at that point. You've gone at it with enclosure. You're I'm gonna use this enclosure that we're working on, and then I'm just gonna sort of work out what feels right, and then say, okay, yeah, I like this line, and then you take that and put that into three different keys, and that really is you are just basically opening up the pathways in your brain that you sort of need to create on the spot. You're just doing it sort of slower, and that's another way, yeah. So not saying, oh, I like that enclosure that someone's played in this solo, I'll take that and put that somewhere else. That's one thing, but the other thing is I like this enclosure, and I'm going to write something with that enclosure, and then I'm going to put it through different keys, and that's sort of the process. Those two things that I just said is sort of my process, and I just the way that when you're talking about what you're working on and understanding things, says to me that you are you're not at a stage where you need to look at the theory or work on anything other, but it's about finding that sort of process. You want to come away from a practice session a little bit like, okay, I practiced today. I don't know if I've got any better, but I know that my brain hurt a little bit, and I know that I can now play something that I couldn't play at the start of it. And that's sort of where I want to get to at the end of like a good like jazz practice session.